Trump has done something no person in the world has ever done before. A dead politician has risen. This is the greatest comeback in political history.
Everyone is talking about new leadership in America and the incoming policies that we are going to see President Trump execute.
They don't take conservative business. And I don't know if the regulators mandated that because of Biden or what, but you and Jamie and everybody, I hope you're going to open your banks to conservatives because what you're doing is wrong.
President Trump up there at the World Economic Forum specifically, and these are two topics that are near and dear to your heart. He talked about the debanking of conservatives, and he specifically called out censorship initiatives. And for folks in the know, as who have been following your work, they know that the entire last year's World Economic Forum theme was the censorship of misinformation. Now you have the President of the United States, leader of the free world, specifically saying, no, we're not going to be doing that. Benz.
Yeah, in 2024, the 2024 annual report for risk mitigation for the World Economic Forum listed mis and disinformation as the number one short-term risk to governments and companies all over the world. Basically, someone being wrong on the internet somewhere is the biggest threat to the liberal rules-based international order. Now, of course, it means anything that supports a populist president for candidate in the U.S., in Europe, and around the world. Of course, the World Economic Forum, famous for "you will have nothing and you'll be happy," also had a strange proclamation several years ago that the U.S. will no longer be the world superpower. And as they said that cheerfully, there was a picture of the Chinese flag rising in the background. So, you know, this is basically the Shark Tank that Trump. I'm glad that it's happening so early in the new administration, that he gets to look eye to eye and, in a sense, assert dominance over a lot of these forces who will be trying to snake him and attack him from various angles over the next 4 years.
Well, and so that's also something that I've been focusing on as well. I've been talking about how here, even in Washington, D.C., we've heard these globalist types going after America First nominees, people working against Pete Hegseth. We're going to have an update on that in the very next segment here with Mark Lucas. But also this idea that they're coming against Tulsi Gabbard. They're coming against, many of these same types worked against J.D. Vance. And if anyone who's listened to Tucker knows that you had the warmongers in Washington, D.C., Lindsey Graham and the entire coterie of them coming down saying we can't put someone like that in such a position as this. Why? Because there are billions and billions of dollars that are tied into these various complexes, whether it be censorship and also whether it be war. So, Benz, what should the incoming Trump administration do when it comes to focusing on this idea of infiltration and really just the snakes in the midst?
Well, we've talked about Schedule F as being a very powerful tool for that. Also making sure that the political appointees that surround the cabinet members themselves, the chief of staff positions, for example, the deputies, the assistant secretaries, the undersecretaries, that you basically have no compromise to the regime, because any link in the chain could be used as the basis for a snakening. And I think that we've seen a lot of strong moves in that direction from Trump world. I'm personally delighted at the first 3 days of this administration. And frankly, I think that Trump's enemies are in a little bit of disarray right now that this is all really happening, which is not to say it won't reform shortly soon, but I think there's this sense of, we thought we killed you. Why aren't you dead? And that is, for whatever reason, I think allowing the initiative to be seized by Trump, and all that can be really done on the other side of it in the immediate term is to point and sputter impotently, which is what we're seeing.
Well, I think that's right. And of course, we're already seeing that, whether it be people wanting to attack Elon Musk for this random nonsense, going over, oh my gosh, he raised his hand on a stage, and they're trying to claim that it's something that it's clearly just not, or going after someone because of their views, saying, look, I have a view that we shouldn't be picking fights and wars all around the world. And they suddenly scream, aha, you're an apologist. You're a defender. You're on their side. Look, they've been doing it to Tulsi Gabbard since, I want to say 2015, when she came out in support of Bernie Sanders. And they said, aha, she's a Russian stooge. She's a Russian plant. And then Assad Todi, which of course, the great Joe Rogan had the temerity to ask Barry Weiss when she brought that up in this wonderful scene.
What does Todi
He says,
mean?
What does toady mean? And she actually couldn't define the term.
No, it's very funny. But I will say I'm extremely heartened to see Trump actually confront these folks about the censorship issue, because he did not do that in term 1.0. I can say that with some confidence as a former Trump speechwriter who tried to write speeches about censorship to Trump. That was not on his mind. I don't think he wanted to believe it until it really impacted him personally. And now he's going right to the belly of the beast and taking it to him. And the fact is it is these international aspects of the censorship industry that are going to be doubling and tripling in size over the next several years. And the U.S. censors and exiles will be attaching themselves to the EU, to the UK, to Brazil, and to dozens of others that will form a sort of shadow cabinet here in the U.S. to use other countries' censorship laws. But the fact is the World Economic Forum itself formed an institution called GARM, whose mission was to deprive conservative and populist websites of $2.6 billion in programmatic ad revenue. And they were successfully on their way to doing that until Jim Jordan and a parade of lawsuits effectively got that shut down. So we have the wind at our sails. We have momentum on this, and we have to keep the pressure on.